Hi, I'm Graham Hurst. I'm the MD here at Ministry of Furniture. In today's video, we're going to be looking at styles of frames on classroom tables. Okay, so the first style of classroom table that we're going to be looking at today is the crush bent frame classroom table. That's the one that I'm standing at here. As you can see, it's a rectangular shaped table. This one is 1200mm by 600mm. Tends to come in a series of shapes, but the most popular sizes, or the most popular shapes, is the rectangle, the square and the trapezoidal, occasionally circular, although that's becoming less and less popular to work with the modern curriculum. Okay, the reason it's called a crush bent frame, as you can probably pick up here on the edge, is that the legs themselves are made from one continuous piece of steel that are crushed in a bending machine within the factory. They're literally crush bent to form the leg. So that leg there is one continuous piece of steel. In our experience, that makes the leg frame very, very strong, and it's actually the strongest frame that we believe you can buy when you're making a classroom table decision. It's not entirely popular with all users for the simple reason that on one end, as you can see, the leg protrudes over the end, and on the other end the leg is recessed. The reason for that is so that you can group the tables together, and you will often hear them referred to as grouping tables. If it's a standalone product, that's very, very rarely an issue, but if you are grouping products together, that will be relevant, and it's something that you should consider if you've got legacy stock, because one style of crush bend may not suit the other. Now, I'll just cover that ever so quickly, but it's an important consideration. Some styles of crush bent frame are bent front to back, and that's the product that you can see in front of you here. We call that a short edge bend, which is a short edge stacker. The graphic that you can see on the screen now is showing you what the difference between the two. On other styles, the bend goes from this side to this side, which is a long edge bend, which is a long edge stacker. Sounds a little complicated, but it's a very, very important consideration for you to make. If you buy a mix of stackability or a mix of stacking tables, you may need to consider that one will not stack on the other or may not group with the other. So it's an important item for you to check. That said, this is the most popular classroom table available in the UK. And is an excellent choice. You'll often see this offered with a lifetime guarantee. A further consideration to make when you're choosing your crush bent frame table is the size of the tube that's being used by the manufacturer. As you can see from this, the tube size here it's actually 28.5mm. The reading is ever so slightly higher because of the thickness of the paint that's on it, the epoxy powder coated paint. When you're purchasing, you will tend to see that a lot of manufacturers who manufacture a crush bent frame are doing it at 25mm. In our opinion, that's clearly an inferior product. Again, if you want an exact match Remploy product, go for the 28.5mm frame. 25mm frame is a competent frame, but it tends to be reflected in the guarantee that it's not quite as strong as the original Remploy product. Okay, so what we're going to do now is look at the underside of the classroom table, crush bent table. Exciting stuff, I know, but nonetheless very, very important when you're making a decision. I'm going to point out probably what are very obvious features, but nonetheless, just here's a bit of advice, and here's what it looks like on the underside of the table. As you can see, this is still the crush bent frame table. You can pick up the crush bend there, and you can probably see now the continuous piece of steel that runs front to back on this particular model. Okay, so that's one continuous piece of steel. On this area here, you've got two cross rails going straight across, which effectively connect the leg, and they're welded 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're then further secured by 6 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Straight through the cross rail and into the chipboard top. The additional feature you've got on this table, and you should always check for, are the buffers, which, as you've probably guessed, are on the cross rail to help with the stackability and protect the top of the table that's underneath in that particular sense. Lastly, what's worth looking at here, and you've probably got a better look at the table there, is what we call ferrules, the feet themselves, which in this case is a plastic insert into the square tube. This particular table additionally is counterbalanced. The brown material you can see here is actually a raw laminate. The reason that balancer is on there is to stop the table warping over periods of time, which in our experience, if you don't balance the table, you can invite a table warping if it's got a cast PU edge on it. It tends to put a tension on the board, and the laminate tends to put a tension on the board that over 15 to 20 years will see some deflection in the substrate in the board itself. And that's the underside of a crush bent frame table. The next style of table frame that we're going to look at is the fully welded table frame. I'm not going to spend ages on this one because it's probably the most common table frame, whether it's a classroom or whether it's in an office environment. Two types that we see most commonly, square leg fully welded frame and a round leg fully welded frame. This one tends to come on the round leg 32mm. Very often nowadays you see it as a 50mm round frame as well. Just gives it that far more chunky appearance. This one tends to be a 25mm square section. In terms of the table shapes on both of these styles of tables, the ones that we have here are square frames, obviously. They tend to come for the classroom in rectangles, circles and trapezoidal shapes, so you can make up a variety of configurations for different teaching styles. The previous product that we looked at was the square tube product. This product is its sister, and what you've actually got here is a round leg. No other key difference other than that. It's worth noting, however, that obviously the tube here is square, has to be square because it's got to sit on the top and keep it flat. What you can also see here is a different range of colours on the frame, something that's worth considering, particularly in terms of the longevity of the product. So the three styles that we've put into the frame here, one is a darker frame, it's our flint grey, one is a lighter goosewing grey frame, and this one is kind of somewhere between the two. One thing to consider, obviously, is that whilst this one looks a lot better and wears well, in many people's eyes, the darker frame, particularly in a classroom environment, will tend to show scuffs and knocks far less, simply because it's dark.